Oh my god, it's happening. All right. Targeted corruptions and faster cloak empowerment. This is a new post from Blizzard. We're working on an update to the game that we expect to roll out in the coming week. We plan to make improvements to the process of obtaining corrupted items and also streamline the upgrading legendary cloak. Well, I'm not going to try and pronounce this. Our goal of the update is to speed up the power progression of new level 120 characters while giving established endgame players more agency in pursuing the corruption effects they most desire. I am shocked that this is happening. Actually, a few weeks ago, I would have said they were just going to leave this patch in the place that it's in until pre-patch. But here we go. More echoes. In our last update, we added Echoes of Ny'alotha. We plan to expand the availability and purpose of this new currency. Now, once any character completes the Legendary Cloak questline, they'll immediately begin earning from all usable sources. They'll be much more abundant than before. As we expand the usefulness of this currency, we want to ensure players who haven't felt the need to accumulate them don't feel disadvantaged, so we will be increasing both the drop rate and their costs by a factor of 5. This means that when the changes take effect, a major assault will reward 625 up from 125. The cost to purchase an instance will also increase by the same factor from 500 to 2500 echoes. If you are planning to purchase a rank 3 essence with Echoes of Ny'alotha that you've already earned, you should do so now before these costs change. Alright, that makes sense. Yeah, you should do that. However, if you were not an eligible character to earn Echoes of Ny'alotha, you are now way behind somebody who was an eligible character. Okay, way behind is maybe a bit of an overstatement. The factor of 5 cost increasing thing is good here, but it still slightly annoys me that this character here that I have would have 10,000 Echoes of Ny'alotha if I hadn't purchased Ripple in Space rank 3 4 weeks ago and finished out my Heart of Azeroth, because this character became ineligible to obtain Echoes of Ny'alotha at that point, and because of that, I'm going to be a little bit behind on corruptions. Is this the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world, but I'm still angry about it. I have some characters that I didn't buy Ripple on, that I barely play, that are going to have way more echoes than my characters that, I actually bought all my essences on and have stopped earning Echoes of Ny'alotha. It's a small problem, but I wish that they would reset this currency instead of doing this whole increasing it by a factor of 5 thing. Just resetting it on Tuesday would fix the entire problem. And it would still be the same for people that have been, that just buy whatever essence you need now. Anyways, let's get back to reading this thing. Improving your legendary cloak. We are also reducing the requirements for any quest step that previously required multiple horrific visions. They can now all be achieved in a single horrific vision. So that means it takes 15 horrific visions to go from rank 1 to 15 instead of 22, which was the previous number. So this is a slight nerf here that is definitely, it mostly affects those rank 12 to 15 levels, as that is where the runs took more than one horrific vision, the overwhelming majority of them. The requirements for further minor upgrades after rank 15 have not been changed. So this means you're still going to be behind somebody who has, 74, 77 corruption resistance on their cloak unless you are willing to do N'Zoth and a horrific vision every week for as many weeks as it took you to get your cloak to rank 15 after the first week that it was possible to do so. So this is something that I think they could maybe look into, something like letting you get 2 upgrades per week from horrific visions or N'Zoth instead of needing to do both of those things. But at the end of the day, I'm not too bothered by this. I don't care too much that an alt, a fresher character is going to have a weaker legendary cloak by 20 corruption resistance or by 30 corruption resistance than somebody who's been playing for a few months. To me, that's not something that's a big deal. So I would be happy with them changing this, but I also don't think it's a big deal. Mother will also offer vessels in exchange for echoes, providing an additional source of access to horrific visions that does not require the completion of assaults. This is interesting because most of the echoes you get are from horrific visions, and now you can go back into horrific visions with those echoes. But we'll take a look at the conversion rate later and see exactly what size effect that has. Choosing your corruption. This is the big part. In addition to any unlocked essences, Mother will now also offer several new preserved contaminants, which allow for a specific corruption effect and the associated corruption penalty to be applied to a specific item. The inventory of available preserved contaminants will change twice each week, mirroring the assault cadence, and will cycle through all available corruption effects at various levels of potency. This is interesting. This means that you really need to check that vendor on your mage. You're looking for that day that Masterful 3 shows up on the vendor, and then you are buying all of them until you're out of echoes. Kind of weird here. I kind of just, it feels to me like they don't want to just have all the options on the vendor at all times, but this seems stupider than that, so I don't know. I mean, this is fine. It's fine, but it still seems a little stupider than that. You can use a preserved contaminant to apply the corruption you purchased to any uncorrupted item that can be corrupted, much like an enchant. So this is going to be not trinkets, Not the cloak, not azurite, not necklace, anything else. Here are some sample costs for Mother's updated offerings. Vessel of Horrific Visions, $17.50. Okay, so $17.50 is going to be the cost. Right now in Horrific Visions, if you do a full clear, you get 150 echoes. We know that's getting multiplied by a factor of 5. So what that means is if you want to just put your echoes back into doing more visions, you can reduce the cost of each vessel effectively by a little bit less than half. So you can do vessels, you can do roughly one vision per 6,000 coalescing visions instead of per 10,000. So if your goal on a fresh character is to get your cloak to rank 15 in as few weeks as possible, that is going to be the gameplay pattern you'll be going for. But if your goal on your fresh character is to have the best corruption, that is not going to be what you're going to do. And that is going to be most players' goal, especially people who've been playing for a longer time. So Masterful 1 is going to cost 3,000 Echoes of Ny'alotha. Siphoner 1, $42.50. All right, nobody's ever going to purchase that. Twilight Dev 1, $62.50. Siphoner 2, okay, again, nobody's going to pay for that. Ineffable Truth 2, actually worse than Ineffable Truth 1, by the way. And you shouldn't buy this thing. Wait until Ineffable Truth 1 is on the vendor. It's a better rate. It's really weird. Ineffable Truth 2 actually kind of sucks. Racing Pulse 3, $78.75. Echoing Void 3, $12,000. Twilight Dev 3, $15,000. All right, they know this one will be a popular one for a lot of people. Yeah, this is interesting. And so again, we're looking here. You're going to get 750 echoes, right? Basically, you can divide this by 5 to think about how much it would cost in terms of current echoes, right? In terms of the echoes that we've been earning each week. Right now, if you play a character quite a lot, you probably earn 1,000 to 2,000 echoes a week. So that means that with the new factor of 5 change, you're going to earn 5,000 to 10,000 echoes per week. I guess I don't need a calculator for that. I can do that math in my head. Which means that you can probably get most of these corruptions at about a rate of 1 good corruption per week. But if you're hard optimizing for Echoes of Ny'alotha on a main character, which has not been something that has been incentivized before, you'll be able to earn more than that. So how are you going to do that? All your assaults, do all of them. They give Echoes of Ny'alotha, and they give the Coalescing Visions. Sources of Coalescing Visions are now very valuable because that means that you can run visions, and each vision run you do that's a full clear gives you 750 echoes. And that's going to be quite a lot towards buying these things. It means that if you are watching this right now, stop doing your horrific visions. Stop it right now. Stockpile. Now the goal is going to be stockpile as many coalescing visions as you can on your characters because you don't want to do your runs this week when you're going to get a fifth as many echoes as you will next week. So that's the move for there. Also, don't spend any Echoes of Ny'alotha unless you really, if you need an essence still, buy the essences that you need now because the essence cost is going to go up next week. So if you can do it for fewer echoes, that will still be worthwhile this week. But other than that, I wouldn't worry all about that. Due to a technical limitation, items that have been cleansed cannot be re-corrupted. We are looking into whether it will be possible to fix this. We don't want to hold up the whole system in the meantime. So that means if you get a super duper bis 485 mythic item level piece and it has Siphoner 1 on it, and you cleanse it, you're not going to be able to put Severe 3 on it or something like that. It will not be possible to apply corruption to an item that was previously corrupted with this system. This is hopefully something that they'll be able to fix, but it does mean that you're going to have to try and remember which of your items were good. It means that any like 475s that you have, so like for instance on my Demon Hunter, let me log on my Demon Hunter. Okay, so on my Demon Hunter, I have this Lord Waycrest Signet, which I cleansed because it's super bis and I wanted to wear it always and I didn't want the corruption that was on it. And this is not going to be something that I'll be able to apply a corruption effect to. Now, for some specs, that's not going to be a big deal because for Demon Hunter, 1 Twilight Devastation 3-piece and most of my corruption budget is spent. But for classes like Mage, for classes like Hunter that are trying to put, Masterful or Severe on all their pieces, for players that want to put Gushing Wound on all their pieces, which is now a possibility, which is wild. I wonder what Gushing Wound is going to be priced at. We don't see what that is in here, but that's going to be a really interesting thing to know. That is going to be really, really important to remember, which of your items were previously corrupted because you're not going to be able to reapply the corruption to them. Hopefully they find a way to fix this at some point, but for now, that's going to be something to keep in mind. And just make sure that you have, just try to remember what you've corrupted. Maybe just don't scrap stuff for the next little while. Don't delete items in case the other item in the slot that you're currently wearing has been corrupted in the past and will therefore not be an eligible corruption target. I don't know. This is weird. All the previous ways that corrupted items and vessels can be acquired are still in place. This changes above are meant to supplement these sources, provide you with more options and control in pursuing your goals. Very cool change overall. I think this is going to do a great job of making the last few months of BFA even more fun for players that are, still sticking around. It does mean that people are going to be super duper bis compared to where they are right now. Players are going to, right now I don't have any gushing wounds on my Demon Hunter. My single target damage is okay. I can play some Infinite Stars pieces on fights where that good. In a month, I'll probably have a set that is 7 high item level gushing wound pieces, and that is going to be completely wild. I imagine this is going to have big implications for PvP as well, notably on the gushing wound front. It's going to have big implications for people who want to do Mythic Plus as well. If you're a Brewmaster Monk and you've been watching my stream, I talk about how you really need to get some of that versatile and surging vitality. If you're a mage, you really need that Masterful. That Masterful is so, so important. And if you've been operating without that, the odds of you getting gushing wound on a random corrupted piece, given that you've dropped a corrupted piece, are 1 in 52. That's so small. So many people don't have any gushing wound. A few people, very lucky people, have a lot, as you may have seen some armory pages floating around. So those people are so far ahead of everybody else right now, that gap is going to close. And the gap is going to close a lot faster for whichever people were brilliant enough to not buy the last essence that they were able to do with Echoes, and who've stockpiled up Echoes of Ny'alotha instead of being, like me, ineligible for that currency. Which, again, that's stupid, and I hate that part. But it's a small problem with an otherwise great change. I think this is going to be really cool. It does mean that alts are going to be pretty much full power level compared to mains if they're able to get, high item level base pieces to apply these things to. It also means you really need to make sure that you check what you're looking for, and you go to the vendor twice per week and see what's on the vendor. Make sure that if you are looking for Gushing Wound, you get it when it's there, because it's only going to be there 1 week, probably out of every 3. So that is a really, really big deal. Anyways, that's just my quick video. First thoughts about this change. This is really, really important, and this is going to be a huge, huge power level change increase for both mains and for alts in the end of this expansion.